Hey students, welcome to the video lecture of macro level design process. We start from the view layer design activities, which one will once revise the view layer design. View layer classes is divided into four activities. Okay, identifying view layer class is divided into four activities. We'll see the four activities. Once again, we revisit it and we'll go for the macro level design process straight away. The macro level UI design process, identifying the view layer objects. The main objective of the macro process is to identify the classes that interact with the human actor by analyzing the use cases developed in the analysis phase. You have to analyze use cases developed in the analysis phase. Each use case involves actors and the task they want the system to do. Each use case involves actors and the task they want the system to do. These use cases should capture a complete, unambiguous, and a consistent picture of the interface requirements of the system. These use cases should capture a complete, unambiguous, error-free, and consistent picture of the interface requirements of the system. In this phase, it's also need to address the issue of how the interface must be implemented. In this phase, I also need to address the issue of how the interface must be implemented. Sequence or collaboration diagrams can help by allowing us to zoom in on an actor system interaction and extrapolate the interface classes that interact with the human actors, thus assisting us in identifying and gathering requirements for the view layer objects and designing them. So you have to explore through the sequence and collaboration diagram. You are able to identify the classes that belongs to the view layer. This is also one way. Next, this is a macro level UI design process is mainly concerned with identifying the view layer objects. Again, the micro level UI design activities, okay, which contain four steps. First one is designing the view layer objects by applying the design axioms and corollaries. When designing a view layer objects, decide how to use and extend the components to support the application specific function and provide the most usable interface. So decide how to use and extend the components to support the application specific function and provide the most valuable user interface. Prototyping the user interface. After defining a design model, prepare a prototype of some basic aspects of the design. Prototyping is particularly useful in AD design process. Next, test the usability and user satisfaction test. You must test the application to make sure that it meets the audience requirement. To ensure the user satisfaction, we must ensure the user satisfaction and its usability along with the way the UI design taken from. Usability experts agree that usability evaluation should be a part of a development process. Usability experts agree that usability evaluation is a part of a development process rather than postmortem or forensic activity. It should be included at the beginning of the activity. Many system developers still fails to pay adequate attention to the usability, focusing primarily on functionality. Adoption of the usability in later stages of the life cycle will not produce a sufficient improvement in overall quality. Adoption of the usability in later stage of the life cycle will not produce a sufficient improvement in overall quality. Step 4, refining iterative design. So micro level activity contain design the view layer objects by applying the design axioms and corollaries, prototyping the view layer interface, test the usability and user satisfaction, and refining and iteration. These are the 4 steps in the micro level user interface design. So in this video lecture, we are going to discuss in detail about the macro level design process. That means identifying the view classes by analyzing the use cases. The interface object handle all the communication with the actor, but process no business rules or object storage activities. The interface object will operate as a buffer between the user and rest of the business object. The interface object will operate as a buffer between the user and the rest of the business objects. For example, computing employee overtime is an example of business object service. Computing employee overtime is an example of business object service. However, data entry for the employee overtime is an interface object. So a data entry is given through the user interface, but actually computing the time is given by the responsibility of the business layer. But data entry is responsible of the user interface layer. An interface object can participate in the several use cases. Interface object can participate in the several use cases. The interface object has a coordinating responsibility in the process, at least responsibility for those tasks that come into direct contact with the user. So they are responsible for the tasks that come in direct contact with the user. Advanced, this is less experienced user. The challenge is to provide efficiency for advanced users without introducing a complexity for less experienced users. That is the major concern. So you have to user interface should support the efficiency of the advanced user. At the same time, it should not create a complexity for the less experienced user or maybe user. Such an interface is a challenging task. Different users are having a different needs. For example, advanced or power user want efficiency, whereas other one may want ease of use. Some may prefer ease of use of interface. Some may want advanced or efficiency, or they want to use very advancedly. Okay, so different users are having a different needs. So this is the macro UI design process. First one is class interact with the human actor. Yes, check that class interact with the human actor. Yes, zoom in by utilizing the sequence or collaboration diagram. Okay, zoom in by utilizing sequence or collaboration diagram. By analyzing the diagram, identify the interface object for the class. By analyzing the diagram, identify the interface object class. Yes, define the relationship among the view objects. Define the relationship among the view objects. So okay, then actually you take the next class and refine and iterate. This is an iterative process. You go continuously. Suddenly a class comes, the class does not interact with the human actor, that will not included in the process. So until all the classes which is interacting with the human actor should go in this process, and actually so they are all properly gathered as a object of the user interface. The view layer macro process consisting of two steps. For every class identified, determine if class interact with the human actor. For every class identified, determine if the class interact with the human actor. If so, perform the following. Otherwise, move to the next class. Okay, if it is true, then go to the sub steps. Otherwise, move to the next step. Identifying the view object for the class. Zoom in over the view objects by utilizing the sequence and collaboration diagram to identify the user interface objects, their responsibility and requirement for this class. Define the relationship among the view interface objects. The interface object like access class for the most part of the most part are associated with the business class. The interface object are like access class for the most part are associated with this class. Therefore you can let the business class guide you in defining the relationship among the view classes. So define the relationship among the view class. Identify the view objects for the class and define the relationship among the interface objects. And the next one is iterate and refine. The advantage of utilizing the use case in identifying and defining the view object is the focus center on the user. So the advantage of utilizing the use cases in identifying and designing a view object is that the focus centers on the user. So it is generally focus on the user. After designing the UI objects, once the user interface objects have been identified, we must identify the basic components or objects used in the user's task and the behavior and characteristics that differentiate the each kind of object, including the relationship of the interface object to each other and the user. Also identify the action performed objects which they apply, and the state information and attribute that each object in the task must preserve. Display and allow edited to be identified. Following diagram show the relationship among the business, access, and view layer objects. So view layer objects. So business layer objects is become a part of a view layer object, and access layer object also become a part of a view layer objects. And as well as the access layer object also become a part of the business object. So this is the diagram represent the relationship among the business and access and the view layer objects. Next, early planning. The effective user interface design is more than just following a set of rules. It also involves early planning of the interface and continue to work through the safe development process. There are parts of designing a user interface involve clarifying the specific need of the application, identifying the use cases and interface objects, then devising a design that best meet the user needs. So these are the things. Okay. So up to this, our macro level design process is over. The next video, we are going to watch the macro level design process. Thanks for watching the video. Thank you.